Hey guys, it's Chris, and this is going to be my Westworld Season 1, Episode 6, the Adversary review and breakdown. I'm really digging this episode. It really went character-based this time. We're starting to see a lot of character progression. We're starting to get a few more answers. We saw Maeve, for example, her storyline really progress. She's actually figured out what the hell is going on and what the hell she is already. Dr. Ford as well, his storyline gets a little bit deeper. Although now I'm starting to think that he really is concerned about what the hell is going on, not necessarily the architect behind it. Although he is the mad scientist, he's definitely worried about what's going on with his former partner, Arnold. So we find out right from the get-go that Maeve has been actually killing herself on purpose. We saw in the beginning of the episode, she actually took a newcomer up and had sex with him in order for him to choke her out so she could wake herself back up in the lab with the lab tech team that's apparently assigned to her because they always have her. That's one thing I was wondering is, and she wakes up, how does she know exactly where she's going to be? She's kind of already established a relationship with this guy in the lab, and now she has established a relationship with Asshat as well, the one that works with him, and she is now fully aware of what she is. She made this guy take her on a tour, which I thought was pretty neat, at the same time pretty stupid. He just kind of pretended he was walking around, I guess, to test her out, which I don't even know if they have that type of access. I thought they were responsible for basically cleaning them up and putting them back on the table. But the point being that she got to see around the Westworld facility a little bit. She saw the truth. And then, of course, at the end, which is really, really cool, she makes the guys upgrade her, especially her overall intelligence, which is now off the charts. And they also discover, tied into the rest of the storyline, that somebody we know that's going to be this Arnold character has already been tinkering with her and upgrading her anyway. We continue to see Bernard and Elsie look for answers on the satellite issue, and Bernard actually goes down to the basement somewhere in some old level that's been basically decommissioned and finds an old computer with a keyboard. And anyway, he logs in with his iPad, he connects it to the computer via Bluetooth, I guess, and discovers that there are anomalies in the park, more than just the stray that we saw back in episode 3, that there are 5 more hosts that are not registered with the new system. He goes on a little trip to discover that Ford actually has a replica of his childhood in Sector 17, which is designated for expansion. Nobody's supposed to be there, but Dr. Ford has these old hosts, some of the original hosts built by Arnold, as a gift to him. So Bernard is definitely now worried about Dr. Ford and what he's up to, but at the same time we see Dr. Ford go back and chat with his younger self, but Dr. Ford becomes kind of concerned because the kid actually killed a dog, which that's something that breaks their prime directive, not to hurt anybody, not to lie to them. Some of those basic prime directives in their core programming. Their little boy admits to him that he heard a voice from Arnold. We saw Dr. Ford looking over a model of the little town with the church, and this is probably his new expansion. But then he pulls out an old notebook. You can see original sketches of Dolores in there. You can see original sketches of a lot of other concept art for Westworld, but we also see the damn maze, so we know that this maze is something that Arnold created, something that was back there from the very beginning. We continue to see the Man in Black in this timeline along with Teddy still looking for the maze, and they come across apparently some kind of entrance to a border. It seems to be some kind of tunnel. And back in the lab when we saw Maeve talking to the technician, I really liked the line that he spoke when she didn't quite understand yet what he was talking about, when he told her, "I was born, you were made." We see Theresa breaking up with Bernard. She is worried about her position on the board, so we know some change is coming. She is kind of anti-Ford, and I think she's going to move to remove him from the board. And we know now, according to Elsie working for Bernard, that she is also responsible for the satellite uplinks and sending data out of the park through the host. And of course, as Elsie's discovering what's going on as far as the satellite uplink in the horror movie she was in, she finds out it was Theresa as well as supposedly being Arnold. And of course, Bernard is super confused by this because he's been dead for 35 years, but she was like, well, he's one hell of a coder for a dead man. As I mentioned earlier, we see Maeve back in the lab, of course, and she's getting the tour of the place, which I thought was really kind of cool for her to actually go and see what the hell's going on with her own kind as far as the androids. So apparently he had told her before they left, look, you're just going to have to walk straight and silent here, don't say a damn word, and I'm going to sit there and pretend like I'm playing on my damn iPad, and then we're getting the hell up out of here. I don't want to lose my job. On the corporate side of things, we see Lee losing his shit. He's the story writer. He's the one that comes up with all the main narratives. And of course, when Lee was at the pool and trying to hit on a hot girl he saw walk up to the bar, that ended up being the executive director of the board that was visiting Westworld. So he got himself into some shit when he got shit-faced drunk and went in and took a piss piss on the map in front of everybody. And I wonder if that damn thing's waterproof. Teddy goes apeshit and actually remembers killing people with Wyatt, but he jumps on the Gatling gun there and kills everybody when he's with the man in black, continuing to look for Wyatt. And this shows you how much he actually cares about Dolores. Of course, Elsie confirms it was Theresa and possibly this Arnold character with the uplink. She gets kidnapped by Jason Voorhees or Michael Myers, I'm not sure. So the question is this Arnold character actually alive, or is he actually dead like I mentioned before, and perhaps put his consciousness or his last wishes, so to speak, into a host because he knew something was coming, he knew people were after him, or is he the one in the middle of the maze? So I won't go into an entire recap because you guys watched it the same as I did, but we actually learned quite a bit here as far as this character-driven episode, and I really liked it. We learned that Dr. Ford, you know, he is a mad scientist, so to speak. He had the recreation of his old house and his old childhood memories. He explains that to Bernard. Those were some of the last original hosts that Arnold had built, and he gave that to Ford as a gift at one point because that was his happiest childhood memory. But then you actually see him pretty concerned about the issue with the little boy killing the dog. They're overriding their prime directives, and the little boy, which is actually him, basically lies to him to his face. He puts him in diagnostic mode, and he actually gets the information out of him that he hears the voices in his head from Arnold. So it looks like Ford is actually concerned about what's going on, so he may not have a direct hand in what's going on as far as Arnold in this old code. I really love Maeve. I really love her character. Her acting was phenomenal in this one as she finds out what the hell's going on. She actually knows the full truth now and understands it apparently. She did get the upgrade from Arnold as far as the voices in her head, as well as from the lab technicians, nice guy and asshat, and now her IQ is basically off the charts, and she closes the episode with, damn boys, we're gonna have some fun. We learned a bit more about Theresa and her goals. You know, her goal is to essentially take over, I'm assuming. So there's definitely an anti-Ford agenda going on with her and Lee and some of the people that think he's batshit crazy. And of course, Bernard as well, we learn, you know, he's kind of worried about that now. He's always looked up to him as a mentor, he said, but now he's really concerned that he's been keeping all this from him as far as these unregistered hosts in the park in Sector 17. He kind of justifies it by saying, wouldn't you like to see your son one more time if you could? Bernard kind of goes away quietly, although I don't think that's the end of that conversation. And when it comes to this damn maze, we got a lot of information from Teddy this episode with the man in black. As they were heading up towards the so-called border with the Union troops, Teddy glances over and sees the scalp on the man in black's horse hanging there, and the man in black actually asks him, what do you think that is? And he kind of knows about it. He basically says the maze is like some kind of native lore, but then he actually kind of gives us some insight as to what it may actually be, and he says the following. The maze itself is the sum of a man's life, choices he makes, dreams he hangs on to, and there at the center is a legendary man that's been killed over and over again countless times but always claws himself back to life. The man returned for the last time and vanquished all of his suppressors in a tireless fury. He built a house, and all around that house he built a maze so complicated only he could get through it. I reckon he had seen enough of fighting. So when you hear him say at the center of the supposed maze lies this man who's died over and over again but always claws his way back to life, that makes you think of an android like himself. You know, Teddy himself and a lot of the other androids for that matter are like Kenny from South Park.
I'm gonna need another chocolate gun. Come on, Kenny.
They're always dying in fucked up ways, getting rebuilt about every single damn day it seems like, except for this particular trek he's on with the man in black, which seems to be taking some time. So Teddy is away from his main storyline. Apparently the man in black is a paying customer, so they won't actually come remove him from this storyline because he's with him. This goes into the William theory a little bit about him and William being the same. But when you hear him talk about the second part of that as far as what he thinks the maze is and what he's heard about it from apparently Indian or native lore, it almost sounds like Arnold himself as far as an actual man who built a house somewhere and built a maze around it where it's so complex only he could get through it because he was tired of people fucking with him. So that almost sounds like Arnold himself as far as, you know, getting the hell away from everybody within the park itself, building this maze around the place he lives where you can go find him, any android, and kind of receive enlightenment. So that conversation between Teddy and the man in black made this a lot more interesting as far as what the maze actually is. You can see growing concern about it. We know there's certain androids, like the oldest ones built by Arnold, the oldest in the park, who know about the maze or have heard about it, and of course they write it off in their programming as religious lore, but it definitely seems to be a real thing. And of course we see Ford getting more concerned about it as he starts to see the maze pop up within Westworld itself, like he saw in this episode when he walked through the town and saw the table where the guys are playing dominoes.
I'm with it. Domino, motherfuckers. Say about that.
So it's some kind of lore that seems to be spreading throughout Westworld. More and more androids are finding out about it, so he's definitely becoming concerned, although he's still the mad scientist. Anyway guys, I'll leave it there, short and sweet. Again, I will be doing a Westworld theories video where I'll talk about the multiple timelines. But anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below about this episode. I thought it was really, really good, really character driven, really good acting, and they gave us a few more answers this time because we were all kind of confused the last few episodes as far as, you know, the flashbacks. But the two timeline theory where we're seeing, you know, a past and a present at the same time definitely explains a lot of things, and I definitely buy into it myself now for sure. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you dig what I do here, please give me a like and a share. As usual, thank you for all the support. Be sure to subscribe to get everything. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.